Hey, everybody. Welcome from the third alternate universe of the Space Show, where we have stopped, hopefully, having technical issues on the bridge.
This is the Melvin universe.
This is the Melvin universe.
The Melvin universe.
Not the Kelvin, the Melvin.
So, I'm
trying to get some readings here.
I'm your host, Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Frost, with Admiral Kerry Jackson and Ensign Squatch Tony. Listen, we're gonna talk about some Star Trek episodes, hopefully. Okay. And we are so close to the end of season 6. That has felt like it has gone on for an eternity. Yeah. Not that the episodes have all been bad.
I'll say not a bad eternity.
No, most of them have been okay. Yeah. You know,
we're just in the year 2024, entering 2025. Shows don't get 26 episodes a season anymore. We're brainwashed to enjoy shorter seasons, 8 episodes every 3 years.
I was going to say, and longer gaps in between the seasons.
But if you look at the quality of those shows,
I don't want to hear it, Carrie.
I'll use Strange New Worlds as an example. You get 10 episodes, and
but
you know,
I keep seeing promo for the new season of Severance, and I don't know if I care anymore.
It has been forever.
There is something to that, waiting too long.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm fine with 10 episode seasons. Great. Tell a great story in 10 episodes.
Totally.
But don't make me wait 3 years in between, because the hype train has left the station and the next station and probably derailed.
My ADHD, you want me to revisit something I already hyperfixated on?
Come on now.
I don't think so.
Exactly.
So, towards the end of season 6 of Next Generation, we are going to be talking about Starship Mine, lessons, the chase, and frame of mind.
Or as I like to say, Jean-Luc Picard, the action hero, Jean-Luc Picard, the romance figure, Jean-Luc Picard, the archaeologist, and acting!
Just a real stretch of Indiana Jones for Jean-Luc Picard. Yeah. So, Starship Mine, the die-hard episode of Star Trek, when the Enterprise is put into space dock for an energy sweep of the ship, which is lethal to humans, Picard gets trapped on board with technicians who are not what they appear to be. So the Enterprise, it's docked at Remler Station, where it is to undergo a routine procedure to remove accumulated baryon particles. The ship must be evacuated while undergoing the procedure. Orton is the Remler Station chief, headed by Commander Hutchinson, who everybody does not want to get stuck talking to Commander Hutchinson.
He seems like a fine conversationalist.
I like small talk. I don't know. But in the cold open, Picard gets interrupted by every single commanding officer, and Worf asks to be excused from the reception because Lord knows he does not have the patience to engage in small talk with this human man. But in one of the best sub-B plots to ever exist, Data is trying to improve his ability to engage in small talk. And Data says that humans fill awkward silences with non-relevant conversation, and so he has written a new subroutine for that specific purpose.
I love when he's testing it out on Riker in the lift, the turbo lift, and Riker's like, maybe that stuff was a little too irrelevant.
Well, and I love when Riker indulges Data, because that's absolutely what's happening here. He's just he knows Data is trying something out, and Riker's just like, okay, friend, let's hear it. So Picard asks Data to attend a reception by Commander Hutchinson, who is supposed to be a master at small talk. Again, I would be fine. I don't have a problem with small talk.
I would just keep interrupting the conversations with, am I getting paid for this? Because I'm paid.
I feel like I'm on the clock.
I'm paid for small talk.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So most of Picard's senior staff wants to be excused. He yells at Geordi, which I did not care for. The baryon sweep will start in 1 hour's time, while Picard has given instructions to shut down all command functions in 30 minutes' time to the computer. At the reception, Hutchinson mentions having horses on the base, and Picard, our noted horse girl, is like, excuse me? You say you have horses?
Now, see, I had completely forgotten that he was a horse guy, and
I had
Rebecca
too.
reminded me.
And the fact that he's, as soon as he mentions that, Hutchinson does. Picard's like, oh, I don't care about this anymore. I'm out. I'm going to go ride a
Hyperfixation.
horse."
I'm going to go get my saddle. He uses the weakest excuse possible to get out of this reception. He's like, I'm going to go get my saddle. And everyone's like,
Yes.
your saddle? And he's like, yes, it's a very personal thing. And don't come between a man and his saddle.
Any serious equestrian enthusiast has their own saddle they take with them. Now, did you notice too when it shows him with the saddle, that thing is in like immaculate, brand new condition.
Pristine.
He probably just replicated it. Is what I'm saying.
Well, he also only uses it in the holodeck, I bet. And so there's no like real earthy damage to be had
true.
in the holodeck. So
Is his horse named Tango? Never mind. That's
Sure.
a way back joke. Way back. All right.
Tango is the name of Captain Pike's fake horse.
Oh,
It's complicated.
It's a whole thing.
okay.
Yeah.
But just know we love Tango.
The original
Tango.
series lore right there.
Yeah.
That is extreme original series lore.
That's how you know a Star Trek nerd is if he has a horse and it's named Tango.
When I restarted my Animal Crossing island and I renamed it to Talos 4.
Nice.
and I made my little character look just like Vina.
Oh, good.
And Tony, I'm begging you to watch the original series.
One of these days. We'll see.
So Picard, after undergoing a costume change and getting his saddle, he finds one relay junction box open with the wires cut. This makes him stop, and he finds a man, Devor, cutting more wires on other junction boxes. Picard attacks him and renders him unconscious.
That's an undercover Tuvok is who that is.
That is an undercover Tuvok.
Pretending to be human and he's a terrorist.
I didn't realize how old Tim Russ is. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the crew is having a miserable time with Hutchinson, and Data is learning all of the tricks from him as per Picard's instructions. Data has been following Hutchinson around the room and learning his mannerisms as he interacts with different members of the crew. And so Riker and Deanna get Hutchinson and Data together. I was cackling on the floor.
It was great.
well, Data, kind of lurking, kind of hiding.
yeah.
Lurking, testing out facial expressions and hand gestures.
Yep.
Oh, be still my heart.
Observation before execution, you gotta-
A real scientist. Meanwhile, on the Enterprise, Picard tries to transport himself out, but the primary power is shut down. Picard finds himself trapped on board just when the deadly baryon sweep begins. Picard is captured by other members of the group, and on the Arcaria base, Horton and his associates pick up weapons to keep the crew in control. Picard is eventually captured and taken to the engineering bay. The unknown people aboard the ship are thieves seeking to make a tidy profit by selling the trilithium for their foray. The crew is led by Kelsey, insane name, from 1993.
Kelsey,
And
the
has
profiteer.
Kelsey from Ogden looking to sell trilithium. There's also Neil, Sattler, Noel Waldorf, and Kiros. Picard tells them that he is Mott the Barber to divert their attention, who, R.I.P. Mott.
Yes.
As the crew starts to transfer trilithium, Picard uses his phaser to cause an emergency shutdown of the engineering section, and he destroys their baryon field diverter, and he also manages to kill Sattler before escaping.
Picard kills a lot of people in this episode.
He does.
Just goes on a murder
He does.
rampage.
He kills like 4 or 5 people in this episode.
He's Bruce Willis, man.
He will defend his ship.
I tell you.
The crew is forced to take the trilithium to 10 forward, as that's the last place to be swept by the baryon rays. Picard warns them over communications that trilithium is very volatile, but he would rather let the ship be destroyed than let the resin fall in the hands of terrorists. Trilithium is a highly toxic waste byproduct produced by the Enterprise's warp engines, and the only possible use for it is as a weapon. Picard starts disabling all roads to 10 forward and tells Kelsey that he knows a ship is coming to pick them up and he intends to be on it as his escape before the baryon beam hits them. Kiros captures Picard, takes him to Kelsey. I cannot take anyone named Kelsey seriously. So sorry. Like, you belong on a playground. On the way to 10 forward, Kelsey kills Neal as she has no use for him now. He was responsible for creating the container which is being used to transport the trilithium. Meanwhile, on the ground, Beverly uses Geordi's visor to fashion a hypersonic disruptor that renders everyone except Data unconscious, because Geordi noticed something was up with the table, and he goes to investigate, and they're like, no, that's where our weapons are, and they phaser him, and I'm like, Geordi! It looked like it hurt. And so Beverly creates a air quotes distraction, and Data picks up a weapon, leaves. On the ship, Picard uses the jury-rigged explosive in 10 forward to disable Kelsey and Kyros, but Kelsey manages to escape with the trilithium. Kyros is killed as the baryon rays enter 10 forward. Picard messages the base to disable the sweep, which Data does just in the nick of time. Picard had removed the stabilizing rod on the trilithium container, and Kelsey's escape ship explodes just a few minutes after it leaves.
Spectacular fashion.
Bruce Willis, man.
Yep.
It's something else that wasn't mentioned in this particular synopsis. He goes and gets a longbow, a crossbow weapon to take with him through the ship.
It was like it was a Daryl Dixon replica prop, that he had.
So the crossbow that Picard retrieves from Worf's quarters, this is in Worf's quarters, is an A2 GP self-cocking recurve crossbow. The production rented it from a local sporting goods store. So that's a real weapon on set.
Wow.
Well, you could tell when he goes to use the lever to pull the string back, they cut away real fast because he's like,
I'm a British actor.
An arm that is strong.
It was a real deal heavy crossbow.
The Royal Shakespeare would never have me do.
And the initial pitch for this episode was one line: "Die hard on the Enterprise."
Yeah,
there it is.
Hilarious.
In a Jeffries tube,
Yeah.
So, were they clear? Maybe I missed it about why the hostage situation was happening in the party and the ship.
Oh no, they were all teamed up.
Was it all part of
they were
the
all
same
teamed up.
You're
crew?
supposed to keep the crew here while we rob the ship, So that was all.
I feel like they weren't super clear with that.
Yeah.
I agree, Tony. But I also just kind of hand waved it away, and I was like, who amongst us?
A couple of things. I love that barium ray thing.
Yeah.
The idea of it, because a good writer will come up with a good premise that you'll buy, Mm-hmm. And, we need a reason to get them off the ship. We need to get everybody off the ship, and we need some sort of dire circumstance that could cause, the time to run out and all that. So I loved that whole barium sweep idea. What a great storytelling device that is.
Yep.
Secondly, Tim Russ, this is one of his first appearances in Star Trek. Apparently, he has been hovering around Star Trek for a very long time. He tried out for the part of Geordi, did not get it. And then he appears in a few other episodes of the series. He's on Deep Space Nine as a Klingon. He's an unnamed ensign in the movie Generations, which we'll be watching coming up. And he's just had bit parts here and there, and then they gave him Voyager for Tuvok.
Good for him. Dedication.
Nice.
But I didn't know that.
And he was a great Vulcan, great Tuvok in Voyager. I enjoyed his character.
Yes.
Speaking of the baryon rays, I did think it was funny how Picard in 10 forward tries to climb up higher to escape it. And I was like, "Oh, that's not going to help you, friend. You need to get further away, not higher up."
Everything they used didn't quite convey what I think they wanted it to convey.
So let's talk about lessons. An episode that mildly irritated me. Okay. Picard falls for the new head of the Stellar Science Services Department, but has feelings of misgivings when he's forced to assign her to a dangerous mission. I feel like nothing happened in this episode except multiple jam sessions. We'll talk about it. An experiment at stellar cartography has most of the ship's resources reserved for hours. Picard is informed that he cannot even make routine communications call for more than 3 hours till the experiment is completed. Even the library systems are offline. Picard cannot do his job or kill the time reading some books or even have tea since the replicators are offline. So what is the point of a starship? So Picard, furious, goes to see the Stellar Sciences section obnoxiously assertive new head, Commander Nella Darren.
What's all this then?
A woman.
A woman doing science? What?
Darren is trying to create a mathematical model for an emerging star system, which is why she needed very precise readings and hence requested all non-critical systems of the ship to be shut down. If she gets the model right, scientists will be able to predict the configuration of star systems millions of years before they are born. Spending some time together, because new woman aboard the ship, Awuga,
Yowza.
they spend some time together and find that they share several interests and enjoy playing music together. Soon, they bond over their music, and Picard finally has someone to share his interests with. Darren takes Picard to the acoustically most perfect spot on the ship to practice their music.
And Geordi hears it in engineering and is like, what is that?
Freaks
music?
out.
Data's like, I don't hear anything. What are you talking about?
And this is two scenes. The first scene, she rolls out her keyboard, the keyboard from Big,
Yeah.
but just rolls it out. And
this is supposed to be the future, and I'm just looking at that going, that's so 80s.
they spend I don't know, 60 minutes in these two scenes just playing
60.
music together.
I did really like, though, right before their first jam session when he shows her his flute, and she's like, so have you played long? And then there's that pause, and you can see him get
Have I?
reflective. And he's like, yeah, I've been playing a long time. And then later in the episode, he actually talks about his experience.
Opens up.
I thought that we'd never seen him do that up until this point. I thought that was
And she
pretty
pulled
cool.
out her miniature version of the keyboard from the movie Big.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. Love sparks were happening.
Yeah. So
where's HR in the 24th century?
So Picard even talks to Tiana about that. He's like, I know there's no rules against a captain having a relationship with an officer or whatever.
There should be.
I was like, what do you mean there's not? That's insane.
In a society of post-scarcity, love is allowed to flourish, guys. Come on now.
I guess so. I guess you're right. I mean,
Okay.
I just kept yelling, this is an HR violation.
Yeah.
There's a power dynamic. There's also a moment right after this where Picard is obviously very happy. He goes to Riker and he's like, hey, do you want to touch swords later?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You would put it that way.
Oh my.
He asks if he wants to go fencing. Okay, so the Enterprise arrives to study the nebula, and Riker has assigned the main sensor array to engineering for their warp field tests. But Darren wants the array to continue her tracking of the gas flows in the nebula. So Picard is very conflicted and seeks Deanna's counsel. She gives her permission for Picard to date Darren, like he needs it, and the relationship gets tested by balancing his authority. Picard will kiss her in private, but would only call her commander in public. She tends to sort of abuse his feelings for her. For example, she overrides other departments by reserving a larger share of time on the ship's main sensors for her research, and Riker is pissed.
Well, here's the thing. Do you think she was leveraging her relationship? I think she's just that pushy.
I think she's just pushy.
That's
Yeah.
the impression I got. Is she's just
Yeah.
like, I would have done this regardless, but so
Yeah, I don't know. Picard relays to Darren that he learned the flute after his experience on the planet Catan. He says he lived an entire life on the planet in a space of 25 minutes.
I had children, he said.
Had a wife, had a kid, had kids, and even grandkids. Picard says that this is what his music means to him and what it means for him to share it with somebody. So
That was a nice speech. I thought that was
it was very nice.
some nice dialogue there.
It does kind of suck that he's only known her for 5 minutes, but
True.
The power of music. This is literally why I get so emotional when I watch Pitch Perfect, because all of these girls have spent so much time making music together and doing all of this stuff together. It really brings people together. Shut up, Tony. So Darren and Picard end up doing it. The next day, she uses her influence with Picard to insist Riker to transfer a crew member to her department. Riker speaks to Picard that her requests make him uncomfortable due to her relationship with him. Picard says that Darren is just doing her job and advises Riker to do his. My man.
Okay.
Thinking with the wrong head, my friend.
Well, the thing is, though, Riker will do his job.
Yeah,
He will. He will.
That is
Sure.
to say, no, sorry. You know,
You don't get this person.
Darren and Picard agree not to let their relationship interfere with their duties.
I swear.
I promise. The Enterprise is on its way to the Versailles system, who are about to be hit with a severe stellar storm. The storm develops when a solar flare interacts with high-energy plasma on the surface. The Enterprise will reach 1 hour before the storm hits and will need 2 hours to evacuate everybody. She suggests a way to help the colonists by erecting a series of deflectors in the path of the oncoming storm to create a firewall, and joins one of the rescue teams. Riker assigns her in charge of erecting the firewall.
That's not all she erected.
Oh.
Tony.
Love scene. It was earlier. You get it?
She erects the firewalls, but has to calibrate them manually until the storm hits in 4 minutes. Meanwhile, Riker still has 73 colonists to evacuate, and he needs 10. Picard orders the perimeter team to hold the firewall till the colony is evacuated. Darren does her job and holds the storm back and allows Riker to evacuate the colonists, but she herself goes missing on the job. Picard gets sad on thinking that she died, but a few minutes later, they find survivors and she's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although 8 people died. So,
But she's okay.
When she's back, Picard and Darren both realize that this won't work out, as Picard would question every decision of his and she would blame him for everything. They break up. She transfers out.
Yep.
Womp, womp, womp.
and that's all we ever hear from her again.
I hated her hair.
She did have some intense 80s hair.
I cared not for it.
And what's interesting to me is that the actress who plays her is Australian.
Australian.
And she had her American accent going the whole time, and I was wondering why wouldn't she just let her have her?
Why does it
her
matter?
accent, you know?
I saw something very interesting on the internet. What if Picard is speaking French all the time, but we hear English because of the universal translators?
Universal translator.
What? Maybe that's been the thing the whole time.
Maybe
He
that's
is
been the thing the whole
French.
time. Mhm. Something to think about.
It's not happening. That's not happening. I just love how people go there. They,
Yeah.
you know,
We need explanations
I will
for
invent a
everything.
I
That's
get
right.
accused of overthinking these shows. I get accused of it, but I never have gone that far. Okay.
You know what? This is a fantastic segue into we need an explanation for everything. With this episode, The Chase.
Yes.
The crew of the Enterprise must race against various rival powers to uncover an archaeological secret that explains the predominance of humanoid life forms in the galaxy. Jonathan Frakes directed this episode, our friend Jonathan Frakes. Whilst on a mission to observe the development of protostars in the Volterra Nebula, Captain Picard is visited by his old Academy archaeology mentor, Professor Galen, who
Norman
invites
Lloyd.
Norman Lloyd. I will talk.
The actor. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about him at the end. Who invites Picard to join him on a long expedition for 3 months, maybe up to a year. He says that, and I'm like, okay. That's a big window. And he claims this expedition to be of great historical importance with origins in the field of micropaleontology. Picard really struggles with this decision. Oh my God, how he
He wants
struggles
to
with
go.
this decision.
Ooh.
Oh, he wants to go so bad. He has tea with Beverly, which, by the way, I love that they do. They still have morning tea together, like every day. Warms my heart. And he is just like, man, I can't give up. I have a lifelong career that I cannot just abandon for this. Yep. So upon being refused again in favor of fleet duty, Galen goes alone. He is severely pained at rejection from Picard and says that he is rejecting it, the chance of the discovery of a lifetime. Galen's shuttle is captured by the Iridians. Before the Enterprise arrives, the Iridians board Galen's shuttle and kill him. Picard orders mild phaser fire, but the Iridian ship explodes. Beverly pronounces Galen dead when he is beamed on board the Enterprise. So Picard has a big crisis of faith here. Like, oh my God, if I was on that ship, I probably could have saved him. And everybody's like, dude, I don't know.
You just would have died along
You
with
probably would have died.
Well, and they never explain why the low-powered phaser completely explodes the other ship, do they? Worf just says, that shouldn't have happened. And they move on.
So the Iridians...
Check out your phasers.
Well, do they blow up the ship intentionally because because of like the findings? So the Iridians sell the vital findings, which Data, LaForge, and Crusher help to decipher, because they're able to also they restore them from damaged memory banks of the shuttle. Picard finds that Galen visited an unexplored system called Rua 4 before being killed by the Iridians and orders the Enterprise to go to there. Rua has a proto-hominid life form, but nothing else. Picard remembers that Galen got to Rua 4 by making a stopover at Indiri 8, which is an L-class planet and only supports plant life. No animal life whatsoever. At Indiri 8, the Enterprise finds all plant life on the planet being destroyed by a global plasma reaction, which cannot be stopped. Some pretty devastating stuff. So Data and Geordi work on Galen's files and reveal 19 blocks of coded numbers, which basically represent an incredible DNA sequence common to at least 19 independent sentient life forms. These life forms scattered all over the galaxy, and it is astonishing that the DNA sequences are so chemically identical in nature. They link the DNA fragments at their common protein links, and Geordi starts to see an algorithm coded at a molecular level. I know I'm talking about a lot of science stuff, and usually I'm like, blah, 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 science, but this is actually so fascinating.
Biological computer? What?
One DNA strand has been in every human who ever existed. The algorithm must have been written almost 4 billion years ago, but it still has pieces missing, and Picard suspects that one of the pieces is on Indiri 8. He orders to check for compatible protein combinations from all non-Federation planet inhabitants that are on board the Enterprise. Picard remembers that Galen visited the Curl system before coming to the Enterprise. Loran 3 is the only inhabited planet in that system, and its DNA sample is not in the Galen files. As it turns out, it was sold to the Klingons, who are led by Captain Nudak, and the Cardassians led by Gul Osset, with the worst makeup I've ever seen.
Very interesting makeups.
Yeah.
Very...
They get better, but... Yeah.
Supremely interesting choices.
Yeah, we're still experimenting with the Cardassians the way they look right now. We're still in the development phases.
Well,
it's going to be figured out in Deep Space Nine.
The prosthetics and everything looked normal for Cardassians. It was like the makeup she put on like
a toddler, like a toddler puts on makeup.
Like big purple eyeshadow and
lipstick. It was bizarre, and I did not care for it. So both the Klingons and the Cardassians arrive simultaneously at the planet from where they suspect the common source, which included a hidden program, originated. Osset has the sample from Loran 3, and Nudak admits that he has the sample from Indiri 8. They combine their samples and find that there is still one strand missing. Picard orders Beverly and Data to run a computer analysis to see a pattern between the available DNA strands in the star locations 4 billion years ago. And according to the analysis, the missing fragment should come from the Ramizad system. As soon as this is found, it is a race to the system. Osset beams back to her ship and fires on the Enterprise and the Klingons to disable their nacelles. And Picard, he saw this coming. He's not a dummy. And he allows her to think that she has disabled his ship. But it turns out Ramizad was the wrong planet. The Enterprise heads for the Vilmorin system, but Osset gets there as well. As long as well as the Romulans.
Yeah, they show up out of nowhere.
Your
So
favorite.
we got the Romulans, we got the Cardassians, we got the Klingons, we got the humans, we got everybody here.
Where's the Ferengi? We left the Ferengi out. Where are
Nobody
they?
likes the Ferengis.
Yeah.
That would mean they'd have to invest in science.
Where's the Vulcans? Anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where
no
are the Vulcans?
You know?
So, everybody's there. Picard, while everybody else is bickering, Picard and Beverly secretly get a sample and they run it through the tricorder, which unlocks the cut level scene, right? And projects a holographic image of a humanoid progenitor. She reveals that they were a humanoid race from a time when none other existed in the galaxy. They knew that they would die out and hence scattered their DNA all over the galaxy to develop more humanoid life forms, and they hoped they would all come together to pool their DNA to hear the message of their progenitors.
It's just like
This
a guy.
this is
that donates
Alien.
A guy that donates every sperm bank he can find a road trip across America.
This is Prometheus. This is
Yeah,
Ridley
this is
Scott's Prometheus.
for sure, 100%.
And this is why all of the aliens on Star Trek look alike, except they got stuff on their face. They're all humanoids, and this is why there is no God. You see,
because they are.
But Beverly
creators.
said something earlier about how it shouldn't be possible for like these various DNA strands to mix with each other. And I beg to differ. Worf has been involved with not one, but 2 half Klingons. Like having a half-seas, they share the same DNA. So it is absolutely possible for these to exist. Crazy. Isn't this crazy? And it's only talked about for this one episode. This is a monumental discovery. No, do we ever talk about it again?
Not in Next Gen, but it does come up again further down the line.
yeah, it gets addressed later.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
You'll be right.
Well, Norman Lloyd.
Get comfy. It's much later. Get comfy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Norman Lloyd, who plays Professor Gillen, was 78 years old at the time of production, making this performance the oldest age by any actor in the series. He has the greatest longevity of any performer in the series. In November 2020, he turned 106 years old.
Holy.
And he is famous for being married to the same woman for 75 years, the longest continuous marriage in Hollywood history.
Dang.
Is this man still alive, Norman Lloyd?
Oh no.
He'd have to be like 108 now.
Died May 11th, 2021.
Yeah.
So
So he got
crazy.
That's not very long ago. That's only a couple years.
Yeah. Oh, he's been around the block. He's been in so many shows,
Yeah.
and plays, and movies, and just one of those guys that just constantly worked.
Jonathan Frakes was disappointed he couldn't direct any outdoor scenes because they didn't have the money because all the money was going to Deep Space Nine.
Oh, those
That
jerks.
set alone, man.
Ruh-roh.
The set alone ate up a ton of dough.
This episode contains a landmark in-story explanation about why most Star Trek alien species look basically human, and many fans felt this story should have been expanded into an extended story arc or even a movie, as such an important revelation was given minimal screen time and treated as an issue of the week despite its profound importance.
I would agree.
Look, we're just trying to shut up you fanboys who say, "How come all the aliens look alike?" That's all we were doing. We're moving
Well, they've
on.
got 2 arms and 2 legs and a face.
And also, the production staff dubbed this the most Roddenberry-esque episode of The Next Generation.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
The speech that the progenitor makes at the end would make Gene Roddenberry proud. It's a great cast and wonderful to have all of those villains and aliens in one place.
I think that's correct. I really
Yeah.
do.
Let's talk about the last episode, Frame of Mind.
Acting.
And this is Jonathan Frakes' big acting episode. And my most least favorite trope of all time.
Most least favorite.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mostest leastest favorite trope of all time, the trope I hate the most above all other tropes. Person in insane asylum. am crazy.
Yeah.
Try, prove not. Stuck in insane. It boils my blood. Really? I think this trope is so lazy. I hate it so much.
So where else have they used it besides Buffy? I know there was an episode of Buffy that used it.
Oh, so many things. There's an episode of Community where there's like just it's a brief moment in Community where they're all in an insane asylum and it's all pretend.
That's right. Yep.
New Mutants. Let's talk about New Mutants. That's one, and it is an extremely common trope. So Riker, playing the role of a madman in the Enterprise Drama Club production of Frame of Mind, and you guys know I love the Drama Club productions.
Oh boy.
And suddenly he starts feeling that everybody on the ship is staring at him or blaming him for something, and he is not feeling great about it. Riker is gravely affected by a local's death on a covert mission on Telonius 4, where a civil strife has created total mayhem and endangers the Federation colonists. Riker was transported undercover to rescue the colonists. From then on, he has not only for him, but for me as well, a frustrating series of conflicting sensations, unable to tell what is real, what is not. Is he getting into character for this play, or is he undergoing reflection therapy, a voluntary alternative to irreparable surgical synaptic reconstruction in a Telonian mental ward? I hate this so much.
Does it bother you because you feel like you might be in this situation? That perhaps
I literally have felt this way since high school. I remember going on rants about this particular trope in high school. I think it is so lazy. Crazy man, not crazy. Must believe me, please. Riker performs the play. And can't decide whether he's on the ship or Telonius. This is the whole episode of just what is real, what is not.
So much shouting done by Jonathan Frakes.
So much shouting. My friend, I love that you get to try to be a big actor boy in this episode, but you're a director. Why don't we stick with that? Pat, pat, pat. Literally, just blah, 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 back and forth, what is real, what is not, blah, 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 and he breaks out of it, and everything's fine. Then that's literally all I have to say about that episode, because that's all that happens.
Well, and the thing at the very end, when he's giving the interview with the other commanding officers in the room, he looks like smug.
He looks smug, and I'm like, you don't get to be.
Yeah, I figured it out. I know I'm the sane one.
But then also he goes with he's on the set of the play, and Beverly's like, "Are you sure you want to? Like, we and the stage crew, we're going to do this tomorrow morning." And he's like, "No, I would like to strike the set." Mm-hmm. Yeah. And some sort of like therapeutic moment for him. He strikes the set of the play. Dumb.
I wish at some point. I'm not crazy. I'm not. Oh, hi, Data.
And see, and I was hoping that at some point in the asylum that Riker would just start shouting, "All I wanted was a Pepsi," and she would give me one. All I wanted was a Pepsi.
These are the kinds of things that go through our brains as we watch.
But it's funny. I didn't care for this episode because it was a little too actory, and Frakes is
super actory.
You know. So actory.
But I'm looking at the list of people who thought that this was top 25 Trek, and it's pretty big. Hollywood Reporter.
Look at
Wired.
IMDb. It's got a rating of like 8 or something on IMDb. That episode, it's like that, and that's high. That's really high for
They're
us.
wrong. They are wrong.
They're wrong. Completely wrong. I mean,
one thing I do like about this episode is it's something that Star Trek does, not just in this episode, but in other episodes as well. We never see any exterior shots until Riker returns to reality at the end, and this is often used in Star Trek when the story is told in illusion. So, like, we've seen it in a few other episodes, like the one with Moriarty, when we pretend to send him away and we've got the layers of the holodeck.
Right.
That's right. Oh,
so
now see, I would go back and watch this again and looking for that detail, but I just don't care
want
enough.
To.
So
don't want to. Can't make me.
Not gonna do it.
So that's those episodes. What do we think? Best episodes ever?
I really liked 2 of those episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the episodes was all right. The romance
Jam
episode.
session. Just
Yeah.
jam sessions.
It was fine. I felt kind of bad for Jean-Luc in that episode because he just can't catch a break when it comes to, love.
Yeah.
But yeah, the acting episode was just kind of like,
that was too
okay,
much.
well, all right. That filled a weak slot.
Yeah, I liked Die Hard. I liked that one, and then I liked the There Is No God, and here's why the makeup is the way it is. Which I thought was a great explanation. So
It was fantastic.
Yeah. That was great. Next episode, we're inching ever so closer to the end of season 6. We will be talking about Suspicions, Rightful Heir, Second Chances, directed by LeVar Burton, and Timescape, directed by Adam Nimoy. So looking forward to that. Also, in upcoming episodes, we might have a very special guest. Just trying to coordinate with him. That's a fun hint for you. So we'll see what happens there.
Okay. All right.
But until then, we're gonna keep going. Keep going where no man has gone before, but a lot of people have gone before. Farewell, humanoids.